My name is Ed Allen. I work at Texas Tech University, or I'm retired from there actually. And this is joint work with Linda Allen and Anna Van Fleet. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then we're going to talk about observations on Texas horned lizards and red harvester ants in Dickens County, Texas, from 1997 to 2024. So first, we'd like to thank Leanne Linham for her interest in this project and inviting us to give a talk, and also to Leanne Linham, who helped us with the Texas Horned Lizard Watch program, and also the other organizers, Ryan Sack, and again, Lynn Seaman, for making this meeting possible. This talk is divided in 3 parts. We're first going to give some information about Dickens County, very interesting county in Texas, and it will help you understand the remainder of the talk. And part 1, we're going to talk about the a horned lizard survey that we did on a 4-mile road, this 4-mile road right here. That's a picture of it. And horned lizard survey on that road. And then we'll talk about observing harvester ants and horned lizards on this road here, which was on 80 acres near the paved road. First, it's useful to describe Dickens County, Texas. It's about right here. It's about right here, and it's in the Great Plains of the United States. So it's under the same pressures or processes as most of the Great Plains of bison grazing and fires, and that caused in Dickens County to have very, very little brush, very few trees, and mostly short grass until about 1880s. And this is it's also very wild. It's in what's called the rolling plains of Texas, and this is called the Big Empty of Texas. Now, why it's called the Big Empty is the population is low there, but it's also decreasing. Over the last 100 years, for example, Dickens County decreased about a factor of 3. So, and in comparison, Lubbock County, this is Dickens County about right here. Lubbock County is just 2 counties over in the high plains. That increased a factor of 30. In fact, you'd think that this would be the Big Empty down here, but this is increasing in population. Brewster County, which is right there, increased a factor of 2. So it's a very wild country in the rolling plains. And this is a map of Dickens County. We're going to be looking at the 4-mile road is this road right here. The 80 acres is about right here. And there's only 2 small towns in Dickens County, Spur and Dickens. It's mainly ranch land. There was the largest branch there now is called the Pitchfork Branch, which is about 165,000 acres. And it's mainly mesquite grassland. This shows a picture down here of what Dickens County looked like about 1910. You notice that the grass is very short, and there's very few, very little brush. What you see there is mesquite. This is a picture of the 80 acres on the other side, and that is you can see it's quite dense now. This is a good year for grass and brush, and there's the trees back there are mesquite trees, and the grass that was originally there was buffalo grass. That's mutualistic, has a mutualistic relation with bison. The seeds from buffalo grass go through a bison and actually improve the germination. and and it's very nutritious to buffalo. In fact, the red harvester ant likes the buffalo grass seed too. Okay, so this is another picture. I'm just fascinated with these old pictures of the county. I can't believe it looked like that because it's so clear. This is about 1910 too. Now most of the county was owned. Dickies County is about 30 miles by 30 miles. So it's a big county. It's 900 square miles, about 580,000 acres. Back in 1910, the Spur Ranch owned a big chunk of it. And that was the era of the huge ranches in Texas, where the largest ranch, for example, is XIT Ranch, was about 3 million acres, many large ranches. The Spur Ranch broke up in about 1920, 1930. In fact, the 80 acres was part of the Spur Ranch. Okay, now we're going to be talking about the red harvester ant and the Texas horned lizard. If I say harvester ant or horned lizard, I probably already did that. I'm talking about the Texas horned lizard and the red harvester ant. But what's interesting about this is the ranges pretty much overlap, which is kind of surprising. And we're about right here. It's almost in the center. This is the original range of the Texas horned lizard. So this is why this will motivate the remainder of this talk, this slide. And also probably motivated the start of the Horned Lizard Conservation Society. This shows sightings of Texas horned lizards by biologists. Pretty much all of Texas was at one time range for the horned lizard. But the green is bad here. That means no horned lizards were seen by biologists about 20 years ago in the eastern half of Texas. And Dickens County is about right here. We notice also in the high plains there's getting to be less and less horned lizards. There's still a lot in the rolling plains, but it could be decreasing. Okay, so now we're going to part one. This was a 21-year survey of horned lizards. The left side is an aerial view. Oops, I'm sorry. The left side is an aerial view of the road here. It goes from about right here to here. This is all ranch land up here. There's a big pasture. Actually, this is a view of the pasture on one side. What's interesting about this, if you look at that picture, you notice that the weeds along the vegetation along the road is very high, about 3 to 4 feet high. This is throughout the summer, it looks like this. Now, when we started the survey, it didn't look like this. We'll talk about that. So here's some survey information. Traffic was generally like, in Dickens County, it's only about 1 person per square mile outside those 2 little towns. It's very wild. There's very little traffic. And what we did, we would drive along the road about 20 miles an hour and count the horned lizards. We could easily see them on the road. And they were just out sunning. We'd be very careful not to hit any, of course. But we did about 9:30, 11:30 on survey days. And almost all of the surveys were done May through August because we hardly saw any in any other month. And this is a summary of the results. This is the year and the number of horned lizards we saw per year on the left side. On the right side is the number we saw per month. And we saw most of them, well, 45% in June over the 21-year period. Now, we analyzed the results. We found something interesting. And it appears that sightings decreased about 2011. And it was kind of a step change. And from before about 2011, we saw about 8 per year on the road in the surveys. After 2011, about half that. Now, so we analyzed the June data in particular to be consistent because we're looking at year by year. And in particular, the average number of lizards sighted per survey day was about 1.6. In other words, we saw between 1 or 2 generally when we surveyed. But from after 2011, we saw about 0.6. In other words, we saw either 0 or 1 generally. So something happened. This is significant at a 0.02 level. So this shows on the right side, the left side is the fraction of days where we saw sightings. On the right side is where we is just a graphical view of what we just talked about, and that is the average number decreased about 2010 or 2011. So what happened? So we're trying to figure out what happened now. And so there's 2 things that happened. And the first was that we had a very severe drought in 2011. It was just 6 inches. Now in Phoenix, the average annual rainfall is 8, but you're in a desert. This is not a desert area. And so this affected all the animals and all the plants there. And we think it could have caused a major change. So, but something else happened that was interesting, almost the same year. And that is that in 2010, the Texas Department of Transportation decreased its mowing frequency on the roads. Before about 2011, we could drive along. It was like a lawn on both sides of the road all the time. We could drive along and see the harvester ant nest, which is about 2 to 5 feet in diameter, very easily. But then after 2010, they didn't mow only twice a year, and so the vegetation almost all summer is very high, and it's thick, like what we saw. And so we're wondering, did this affect the horned lizards? In summary of part 1, we had a decrease in sighting frequency on the road, and we don't know if it was a drought that caused it or if changing in mowing frequency. So this led to part 2, and that is from 2016 to 2024, we studied mowing on a road we built on 80 acres just north of the road. And this shows the road. This is half a mile by quarter mile. This is about a mile long. We constructed a road and mowed it. And this again is a view of the road. Notice there's a lot of the thick vegetation on the sides of the road. So we mowed it about 1 to 4 times each month, April through October, to keep it looking like a lawn kind of on the road. And and we also looked at harvester ants. Of course, all of you know that horned lizards and harvester ants are, horned lizards are strongly influenced by harvester ants, but especially the Texas horned lizard, apparently. And these are several references that say anywhere from about 69% to 98% of their diet is harvester ants. And if you're still not convinced, and I'm sure everybody here is very convinced about that, we saw in the pre Brian Sullivan gave a picture of his cat. But this one's opened up on the right-hand side. And that's about 1 inch long. And you can see, I don't know if you can see all the little heads and parts of the harvester ant. Okay, so the observations for this part was that in 2016 we found when we built the road we had 5 ant colonies on the road, they're easily to find, easy to see. But in 2024, 8 years later, after we kept mowing this road all that time, we had about a factor of 9 increase in the harvester. I mean, there's ants everywhere now on that road. And In 2016, we had, the whole year we saw 200 lizards on the road. That's the year we started. In 2024, often in a single day, we'll see 1 to 4 horned lizards on the road. And for June, July, and August, we saw at least 20. We didn't do any formal surveys, except walk around and mow and observe the horned lizards. But, so why is this? What happened? Why do harvester ants why are we getting an increase in harvester ants on the road? Well, from June to August, the red harvester ant has, and generally 1 or 2 days after rain, the winged females and males will come out, and they'll fly up, and the males will mate, they'll die, and the females will dig a little hole, and we see them all over digging these little holes. And what's important about this, the female likes open areas to build nests. I'm not sure why this is. Maybe it's predation. But these are some references about this. And the first 3 are red harvester ants, where they talked about them building, the red harvester ants building nests on the road. I mean in cleared areas. The next 2 are the western harvester ant. They build a little cone-like mounds that are interesting. And the last one, it turns out that even at the first are Progonomorex, the genus, but even other genuses of harvester ants, like the ones that live around the Mediterranean, the messer harvester ants. These are the famous harvester ants. They occur like in Proverbs and also in Aesop's Fables. Everybody knows about the grasshopper and the ants. These are the messer harvester ants that are in these lessons about hard work. So in summary of part 2, we saw that if we have mold dirt grass rose in Dickens County, has a very positive effect on red harvester ants and accompanying positive influence on Texas horned lizards. And these results are, of course, this is nothing surprising. We should not have been surprised at all about this, because all the references say that there's going to be more harvester ants if you have cleared areas, and the Texas horned lizards like harvester ants.
We have about 5 minutes.
Right. And so I thank you. This is the people that worked on this. It's Linda, Ann, and I. And so thank you for listening to this.